Chosen one, something happened in the heavenly realm that they did not warn you about. Something occurred in a moment that felt ordinary to you, felt like just another day of pushing through, just another instance of holding your ground when everything in the world was pressing against you. A moment that looked small from the outside but registered in heaven like a seismic event. And when that moment happened, when you stood in that particular way, when you carried yourself with that particular spirit, with that exact combination of fire and groundedness and unshakable knowing, God went quiet. Not from disappointment, not from frustration, from something else entirely, from something that does not have a simple name in human language, from the kind of awe that even God reserves for the rarest of things. The Archangel Michael, the one who commands the armies of heaven, the one who has stood at the edge of impossible battles since before this world had a name, turned to look at what God was looking at. And Michael, who has seen everything that the spiritual realm has to offer across all the ages of this world, who has witnessed warriors and prophets and kings and martyrs and intercessors carrying burdens that broke nations, Michael looked at you, at the attitude you carry, at the specific way your spirit holds itself when the pressure is on and the witnesses are few, and Michael was stunned, genuinely, completely, without reservation, stunned. I want you to sit with that for a moment before we go any further. The Archangel who has seen everything, stunned by you, by the attitude that the people in your life have been telling you to dial back, by the fire that your circumstances have been trying to extinguish, by the refusal that is written into the deepest part of who you are, the refusal to become small, the refusal to perform diminishment for people who are made uncomfortable by what God put inside you. This message is for the chosen one who has been told their entire life that they need to be more humble, more agreeable, more palatable, more easy to be around. The one who has been handed correction after correction, not for doing something wrong, but for being something that makes other people aware of their own limitations. The one who has been called difficult, called proud, called too intense, called too much, called hard to reach, called intimidating, called someone who thinks they are better than everyone else, when the truth is they were simply never willing to pretend they were less than God made them. The one who started to wonder, quietly and then not so quietly, if maybe the world was right, if maybe the fire they carry is not a gift but a problem, if maybe the thing that burns inside them and refuses to go out regardless of what tries to snuff it, if that thing is actually the character flaw that everyone in their past kept pointing to, if maybe they would have more peace, more success, more relationships that lasted, if they could just learn to turn it down. Chosen one, I need you to hear this clearly. The attitude that left God speechless was not a sin. It was a signature. It was the mark of someone so fully themselves, so aligned with the identity that heaven wrote for them before the foundation of the world, that even God paused to take it in, not to correct it, not to soften it, to witness it, to hold it in the kind of regard that we are told in Scripture God holds for those whose hearts are completely His. Complete does not mean perfect. Complete means undivided. Complete means the fire inside them burns for the right things and refuses to be redirected by the pressures of the world. Your attitude, the specific quality that people in your life have called a problem, is undivided. It cannot be redirected. And heaven sees exactly what that means for the kingdom and for your calling, even when the people around you cannot see past their own discomfort with it. Before we go into the 5 things God witnessed in you, I want to explain what spiritual speechlessness actually means. Because when we say God went speechless, we are not saying God was confused. God does not experience confusion. We are not saying God did not expect this. God does not experience surprise in the way humans do. What we are saying is that in the divine framework of how heaven relates to what happens on earth, there are moments that are registered differently. Moments that generate a response in the heavenly realm that is not the routine response of acknowledgement, not the steady hum of sustained watching, but something that ripples, something that causes the witnesses of heaven to take note in a way that is different from ordinary note-taking. This is one of those moments, your moment. The attitude you carry generated that kind of ripple, and the ripple has been building into something specific for your life, something that is directly connected to the silence that followed the speechlessness of God. Because the silence was not empty. The silence was the sound of decision-making. The silence was the moment in which something that had been waiting for you was finally cleared to release. Let me tell you who Michael is in the architecture of heaven, because understanding his role helps you understand the weight of what it means that he was stunned. Michael is identified in Scripture as one of the chief princes, a designation that in the heavenly hierarchy indicates a level of authority and nearness to the throne that is reserved for the most senior figures of the angelic realm. He is the warrior angel, the one who engaged directly with the Prince of Darkness in the book of Daniel, the one whose intervention broke through 21 days of spiritual warfare to bring the answer that Daniel had been seeking. He is the one described in the book of Revelation as the commander of the heavenly armies, the one who leads the final confrontation with the ancient enemy of God and of humanity. Michael has existed since before time as we know it. He has witnessed every battle, every miracle, every moment of human courage or cowardice, every instance of someone standing in their calling or walking away from it. He has seen what it looks like when anointing rises and when it retreats. He has been present at the moments of history that changed the world, moments that we read about and moments that will never be written down in any human record, but that are inscribed in the books of heaven. Michael has seen everything. And Michael was stunned by your attitude, by the specific combination of things that make up the way you carry yourself. Not just one element, not just the fire, not just the groundedness, not just the refusal, the combination, the way those things sit together in you in a proportion that heaven apparently does not see as often as you might think, because chosen ones are not rare in terms of being called. Many are called. What is rare is the one who keeps saying yes to the call at the exact speed and volume that you keep saying yes to it. What is rare is the one who refuses to negotiate with diminishment regardless of who is offering the deal. What is rare is the attitude that left God speechless, and that attitude is yours. We are going to go through 5 specific qualities that your attitude carries. 5 things that God witnessed in you that collectively created the moment that changed something in the heavenly decree over your life. And for each quality, we are going to trace exactly what it means for the season that is opening in front of you, because the speechlessness was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. And the chapter that begins after God goes speechless about a chosen one is not a quiet chapter. It is not a gentle chapter. It is the chapter that the rest of their life has been building toward. Stay with me, because what God witnessed in you is not what you have been told about yourself. And when you understand what heaven actually recorded, the story you have been carrying about your attitude, about your fire, about the thing that makes you too much for some rooms, that story is going to shift in a way that does not go back. Before we get into the 5 qualities, I want to address something directly. Some of you watching this right now have had a version of your attitude weaponized against you. You have been in relationships where the fire you carry was called controlling, in families where the refusal to shrink was called selfish, in workplaces where the standards you hold were called difficult, in churches or communities where the depth of your hunger for God was called prideful or performative or somehow suspect. And those words have done damage. They have created a layer of doubt that sits between you and the full experience of what God put inside you. A layer that says, maybe they are right, maybe I should soften, maybe the way I am is actually the problem. I am not here to tell you that you have handled every situation perfectly. None of us have. But I am here to tell you that the core of what you carry, the attitude that God witnessed and went speechless about, that core is not the problem. It was never the problem. The problem is a world that has not yet built the category for what you are, and the people who could not tolerate what your existence revealed about the distance between where they are and where God is calling them to be. The first quality that God witnessed in you is what I am calling the refusal of false flaws. Every chosen one is offered, at multiple points in their life, what looks like a resting place, a stopping point that is comfortable enough, close enough to what they dreamed, familiar enough to make the hunger inside them feel unreasonable. It is a level of achievement that their community celebrates, a relationship that meets enough of the criteria that it feels ungrateful to want more, a version of their calling that is functional, that people applaud, that earns them belonging in the rooms they have access to. And the pressure to accept this level as the destination rather than as a waypoint is immense, because the people who love you want you to stop climbing, not because they hate you, because watching you climb reminds them that they stopped, because the ceiling you are pressing against was the floor they made peace with, and they need you to be okay with it too. When you refuse, you represent a possibility that makes their comfort uncomfortable. And so the pressure they apply to get you to stop is often intense and often comes wrapped in the language of concern, in the language of wisdom, in the language of people who love you but cannot follow where you are going. You have refused every false flaw they offered you, not because you are ungrateful, not because you are never tired, not because you do not feel the weight of the climb or the loneliness of being on a level that few people around you can see or understand, but because something inside you, the part of you that God wrote before you were born, the part that knows what it was made for and cannot be argued or guilted out of that knowing, that part will not let you make peace with a destination you were not designed for. You have sat in rooms that others would have been satisfied to stay in forever and felt the pull toward the door, not from arrogance, from accuracy, from knowing, without being able to fully explain it, that this is not where you are supposed to land, that this is a waypoint, not a destination, that the thing you are hungry for is not behind you but ahead of you and requires you to keep moving toward it even when the moving is hard and the destination is not yet visible. You have turned down false floors that others would have crawled to reach. You have walked away from comfortable plateaus in your career, in your relationships, in your spiritual life, and each time you absorbed the judgment of people who could not understand why something that looked like enough was not enough for you. Each refusal registered in heaven. God witnessed every moment you said no to the version of your life that was almost right but not fully right. Those moments, stacked across the years of your life, built the specific profile of your attitude that eventually produced the moment that left God speechless. The second quality God witnessed is what I am calling the fire that does not need an audience. There are two kinds of fire in the human spirit. The first kind burns when it is being watched. It roars when there is applause, when there is recognition, when the room is paying attention and the feedback is positive and the metrics are going in the right direction. This fire is real while it is burning. It is not fake, it is human and natural and legitimate, but it requires fuel from outside itself. It dims when the audience leaves. It shrinks when the recognition stops. It needs external confirmation to keep burning at full strength, and so its output is correlated with the environment rising and falling with the tide of how much the outside world is responding to it. This kind of fire is common. It is not shameful, but it is not the fire God goes speechless about. The second kind of fire burns when no one is watching, when the room is empty and the applause has stopped and the season of recognition has given way to a season of obscurity, when the work is happening in the hidden year, in the between time, in the stretch of preparation that does not yet look like anything from the outside, when the circumstances are not confirming the promise and the community is not celebrating the calling and the evidence of progress is thin and the timeline is long and the fire could very reasonably go out, and it does not go out. It does not even dim. It burns at the same temperature in the dark that it burns in the light. This is the fire that God witnesses and cannot look away from. This is the fire you carry. You have kept burning in seasons that gave you no reason to keep burning. You have continued developing, continuing showing up, continuing pressing into the calling in stretches of time that gave you nothing to show for it on the outside. No proof that it was working, no milestone that confirmed the direction, and the fire did not go out. It could not go out. Not because you are superhuman or because the silence was easy, but because what is burning in you is not generated by you. It is fed from a source that does not depend on external conditions. And God sees that source. God knows what it is. And when a chosen one is carrying that kind of fire, heaven takes notice in a way that ordinary faithfulness does not generate. This is the second quality that God witnessed in you, not just that you are passionate. Many people are passionate when things are going well. Passion that runs on good circumstances is widely available. But that you are on fire in the quiet, in the hidden, in the seasons where passion has no immediate payoff and the cost of continuing is high and the reward of stopping is immediate relief. That is rarer than people know. And God witnessed it in you, sustained and consistent and undiminished by the absence of external confirmation, across seasons that should have exhausted it. And something in that witnessing produced part of what became the moment of speechlessness. The third quality is the one that is most commonly misread by the people around chosen ones. I am calling it the weight-bearing posture. There is a way that certain people carry things, not just difficulties in the abstract, not just the ordinary trials that come with being alive, specific, heavy, unjust, disproportionate burdens that arrived in their life, not because they earned them, but because of who they are. Because the enemy of their calling recognized the threat they represent and began applying pressure early and specifically. These burdens are real. They are not metaphor. They are financial pressures that arrived at precisely the wrong time and in precisely the wrong amount. Relational losses that hit at exactly the moments when connection was most needed and the foundation felt most fragile. Setbacks in health, in opportunity, in timing, that had the specific fingerprint of warfare rather than randomness. The kind of difficulty that does not just happen to you, but seems to know where you are most vulnerable and how to apply maximum pressure with maximum precision. And a chosen one who carries these things with a particular posture, not a posture of pretending they are not heavy, not a posture of performing strength for an audience that is watching to see if they will fall, but a posture of carrying them while still moving forward, while still pressing toward the calling, while still showing up in the morning and doing the next thing and refusing to let the weight determine the direction or define the destination. That posture is visible in heaven in a way that few things are, because it is not performance. You cannot fake the weight-bearing posture. Either the weight is genuinely on you and you are genuinely carrying it and still moving, or you are performing something that is not real. And heaven can see the difference with a clarity that no human being possesses. God has been watching the weight on you. God has not been unaware of it. not been looking away from it, not been withholding relief because the relief is not ready yet, or because you have not been faithful enough to deserve it. God has been witnessing the posture, the way you have carried what was placed on you, the way you have continued forward under a load that was not fair and was not proportionate and was not something you did anything to earn, the way your spine has stayed straight and your direction has stayed true and your purpose has not been rerouted by the pressure. And that posture, that specific way of existing under weight while still moving toward the destiny you were made for, is the third quality of your attitude that contributed to the moment that left God speechless. I want to pause here and ask you something, because sometimes in these messages we move through the qualities so quickly that we do not actually let them land in the places they need to land. Have you ever been told that you are handling something well when you were not sure you were? Have you ever had someone observe the way you were carrying your life and say, "I do not know how you do it," and you wanted to tell them that you were not sure you were doing it at all? You were just still here, still moving, still refusing to stop even when stopping would have felt like mercy? That is the weight-bearing posture. That is exactly what God witnessed. The not sure you are doing it, but still here, is what heaven observes and registers as one of the most profound expressions of what it looks like to be a chosen one in the actual, unfiltered conditions of their calling. Because faith that knows it is winning is not the rarest kind. The rarest kind is faith that does not know yet, still pressing forward without the evidence that would make pressing forward feel reasonable, and that keeps moving anyway. That is your faith. That is your posture. And that is the third quality that left both God and Michael watching in a silence louder than any proclamation. The fourth quality of your attitude that God witnessed is what I am calling the sound of your yes. Not what you say yes to, how you say it. There is a particular quality in the yes of a chosen one who has counted the cost and decided to say yes anyway. It is not the yes of someone who does not understand what they are agreeing to. It is not the enthusiastic yes of someone who has not yet felt the weight of the calling. It is the yes of someone who knows, who has already been through enough of the journey to understand that saying yes to God means saying yes to things that will not always feel like blessings in the moment they are delivered. Saying yes to the pruning, saying yes to the preparation that looks like delay. Saying yes to the fire that refines without explanation, and the waiting room that does not announce its end date, and the doors that close right before the doors that matter begin to open. Your yes carries that weight, and it still comes, repeatedly, consistently, without the guarantee of immediate relief, or immediate explanation, or immediate reward. You have said yes to God in seasons when saying no would have been the easier and more socially acceptable choice. You have said yes when the people around you could not understand the decision. When the path your yes was committing you to looked like a step down from the outside, looked like foolishness from the outside, looked like you were giving up things that any reasonable person would have held on to. And the yes still came. Because the knowing inside you that this is the direction is stronger than the logic that argues for the alternative. Because your orientation toward God is not a decision you make after reviewing all the evidence. It is a fact of how you are made. God heard that yes, not just once, every time it came. And there is something in the way a chosen one says yes that carries a unique frequency in the spiritual realm. A chosen one who knows what they are saying yes to, who has felt the cost and said yes anyway, whose yes is not naive but is chosen, whose obedience is not automatic but is deliberate, generates a signal in the heavenly realm that is different from the ordinary signal of human faithfulness. And God has been receiving that signal from you across the full arc of your walk, across the seasons when the yes was easy and the seasons when it cost you something visible and real. Across the years when the yes led to fruit that others could see, and the years when the yes led to hidden formation that no one around you understood or celebrated, the consistent frequency of your yes built the moment that left God speechless, not because you have never wavered, but because even in the moments of honest doubt and honest questioning, the yes eventually came back. And that is one of the most significant things about the quality of your faith. The fifth quality is the one I want to spend the most time on because it is the one that is least visible from the outside and the most significant in terms of what it signals to heaven about who a chosen one is and what they are ready for. I am calling it the protection of what God placed in you. Every chosen one has something specific that God deposited in them at the time of their creation. A specific combination of gifts, perspective, capacity, vision that is not replicated exactly anywhere else in the human population. This is not about being better than other people. It is about being specifically assigned. Every person carries something from God, but the chosen one carries something that is particularly significant to the specific purposes of the kingdom in their generation, in their sphere of influence, in the particular assignment that no one else can fulfill in exactly the way they can fulfill it. The enemy of that assignment knows exactly what is in you. The pressure you have faced in your life, the specific attacks on your peace, your identity, your confidence in what you carry, none of that has been random. It has been targeted. The attack on your sense of worth, the attack on your willingness to believe that what God placed in you is real and significant and needed. The attack on your ability to trust yourself, to trust your discernment, to trust the voice of God that speaks inside you. All of it has been specifically designed to get you to let go of what was placed in you, to convince you that what you carry is not valuable enough to protect, to make you feel like the thing burning inside you is too small, too impractical, too presumptuous, too much to take seriously. And you have protected it anyway, not perfectly. There have been seasons when the attack worked and the light in you dimmed. There have been stretches of time when you doubted enough that the gift went quiet and the vision went foggy and the calling felt more like a wound than a mandate. There have been years when you were not sure the thing God placed in you was still there. Years when the silence inside you, where the fire usually burned, felt like absence rather than rest. But it came back, and you came back to it. And the thing that God placed in you has survived every assault that was specifically designed to destroy it. It is still in you right now, still burning, still intact, still oriented toward the purpose it was placed there to fulfill. Said, and the survival of what God placed in you, the tenacity of the divine deposit in the face of the specific and sustained opposition it has faced across your lifetime, is the fifth quality of your attitude that God witnessed and could not stay silent about. That something lives in you that was placed there before you were born, that has been attacked from every direction since you were old enough to carry it, and that is still burning in you right now, is not a small thing. That is the testimony of a chosen one who has been faithful to something they could not always explain and could not always see, but could not let go of. Now let us talk about what happened in the silence, because the speechlessness of God is not just a statement about what God observed. It is an indication of what God decided. In the divine economy, when something is witnessed at that level, the witnessing is followed by a response. And the response is not just internal to God, it ripples outward. It generates a decree, a decision made in the court of heaven about what is now released, what is now opened, what is now cleared for movement in the life of the person who generated that specific response in the heart of God. God did not go silent about you and then move on to the next thing. The silence was a threshold. On one side of the threshold is the life you have been living. The seasons of preparation and warfare and waiting and building in the hidden places. The seasons of carrying what you carry without the confirmation of arrival, without the external evidence that the direction is right, without the applause of the crowd or the validation of the room. On the other side of the threshold is the chapter that all of that prepared you for. The chapter that the 5 qualities of your attitude were building toward. And the silence of God, the moment that God went speechless in the face of who you are, was the sound of the door between those 2 chapters opening. I need you to understand what this means practically. The decree that was issued in the silence, the one that Michael witnessed alongside God, is a decree of release. What has been held in preparation is now released for deployment. What has been forming in the hidden season is now released into its visible expression. What you have been carrying as potential, as promise, as blueprint, is now released into manifestation. The gifts that have been active in you below the surface are now cleared to surface. The connections that heaven has been arranging are now cleared to arrive. The opportunities that have been forming in the background of your life, the ones that you could not see or explain but that you somehow knew were coming, are now cleared to appear. And the timeline for this is not a future abstract date that you will have to wait another decade for. It is the season you are currently entering. The shift is not coming. The shift is already underway. The decree was issued, and you are living inside the opening of what that decree authorized. The life that begins after God goes speechless about a chosen one is the life that the chosen one was always carrying the blueprint for. And your blueprint is not missing any pieces. Every season, every refusal of false flaws, every fire burned in the dark, every weight carried forward, every yes spoken into uncertainty, every protection of what God placed in you, all of it contributed to the blueprint that heaven is now reading in full. I want to tell you what Michael testified, because there is a difference between witnessing something and testifying about it. A witness observes. A testifier declares what they observed into the record. And Michael, who was stunned by what he saw in you, testified into the record of heaven about the specific chosen one who carried the 5 qualities that left God speechless. And what Michael testified is not a general statement about the spiritual status of chosen ones as a category. It is specific. It is about you, about the attitude that is particular to you, about the combination of things that exists in your life in the specific proportion and with the specific quality that it exists there. Michael testified that this chosen one refused every false flaw that was offered to them and continued pressing toward the level that was written over their name. Michael testified that this chosen one carried fire that did not need an audience, that burned in the hidden seasons at the same temperature it burned in the visible ones. Michael testified that this chosen one bore their weight with a posture that did not let the weight redirect the direction. Michael testified that this chosen one said yes when saying no would have been easier, in seasons when the yes cost something real and visible, and the benefit of the yes was nowhere yet in sight. And Michael testified that this chosen one protected what God placed in them, not perfectly, but consistently, against opposition that was specifically designed to make them let go of it. And then Michael testified something else, something that goes beyond the 5 qualities and addresses what those qualities, taken together, say about the readiness of this chosen one for the chapter that is opening. Michael testified that this is a vessel prepared, that the preparation is complete, that the formation that has been happening in the hidden seasons has produced something that is now ready to be deployed for the purposes it was formed for. That the chosen one who generated this specific response from God is not still in the waiting room. The waiting room is done, the door is open, and the next chapter has been authorized. I want to make sure you understand what it means that Michael testified about readiness and preparation. Because one of the most common experiences of chosen ones in the seasons immediately before their breakthrough is a feeling of not being ready, a feeling that there is still something missing, something that needs to develop further, some gap between where they are and where they need to be before they can step into the fullness of what they were called to. This feeling is not evidence of actual unreadiness. It is almost always evidence of something else entirely. It is evidence of the gap between the internal experience of a chosen one who has been in the furnace and the external reality of what the furnace has actually produced in them. When you are inside the furnace, you feel the heat, you feel the pressure, you feel the limitations of where you are, the constraints of the season, the ways in which you are not yet functioning at the fullness of your capacity. But what the furnace is producing in you is not visible to you from the inside in the same way it is visible from the outside. And what heaven sees from the outside of your furnace is not the experience of the heat, it is the result of the process. The quality of what is being formed, the completeness of the preparation. And what Michael testified is that from the perspective of heaven, from the perspective of the one who has witnessed preparation across all the ages of human history, the formation is complete. You are ready. Now, I need to talk to you about something that connects the spiritual reality we have been discussing to a practical tool that I believe is directly relevant to the chapter that is opening in your life. Because the decree that was issued in heaven when God went speechless is a decree that releases potential into manifestation. And there is a physiological dimension to that manifestation that I want to address directly. Because God works through both the spiritual and the natural brain is one of the primary instruments through which the gifts and the calling and the vision of a chosen one are expressed in the world. Dr. Daniel Barone is a neurologist who works in New York City. He has spent years studying the gap between what the human brain is capable of and what most adults actually access on a daily basis. And what he has found is that the capacity for what he calls whole brain activation, the ability to use both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, working in concert rather than alternating. This capacity is present in nearly every child. Studies show that 98% of young children operate in this mode of full brain genius naturally. The creativity, the intuition, the pattern recognition, the ability to hold multiple complex ideas at once and synthesize them into something new, all of it flows naturally from this state of whole brain activation. But something happens as people grow into adulthood. The demands of education, of social conformity, of performance-based environments that reward left-brain analytical thinking and penalize right-brain intuitive thinking, all of it gradually narrows the band of brain activity that most adults operate within. By the time they reach adulthood, fewer than 1,000 people still naturally access the whole brain activation state that 98% of children lived in. And what is lost in that narrowing is not just cognitive function, it is access to the very gifts that God placed in them, the intuition that knows without being able to fully explain, the creative synthesis that sees connections that others miss, the capacity to hold a vision for the future and work backward from it with clarity. These are not just spiritual gifts, they are functions of the brain that God designed to carry those gifts. The Genius Switch, developed by Dr. Barone, is an 8-minute daily audio program that uses something called neural sync technology to reactivate both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. The technology works by delivering specific audio frequencies through headphones that help the brain return to the state of whole brain activation. The science behind this approach goes back to the Nobel Prize-winning research of Dr. Roger Sperry in 1981, which established the functional differences between the two hemispheres and the significance of their working in coordination. Dr. Barone and his team built on that foundation to create a protocol that any person can use in 8 minutes a day to access the state of thinking that God designed the human brain to operate in. What this means for a chosen one in the season that is now opening is significant, because the decree of release that was issued when God went speechless is not just a spiritual event, it is a mandate for the full activation of everything that was placed in you. And the full activation of everything that was placed in you requires the full activation of the instrument through which those things are expressed. The brain is that instrument, and if you are walking into the most significant chapter of your life, while your brain is operating at the narrowed capacity that most adults are limited to, you are walking into that chapter with the primary instrument running below capacity. The Genius Switch addresses that. You can find the link to it in the description below. I want to tell you what some people experienced when they began using the Genius Switch regularly, because testimony is one of the ways God confirms the tools He has positioned for His people. Lisa is a woman who had been carrying a vision for her business for years. She knew what she was called to build. She had the blueprint inside her. But every time she sat down to execute on the vision, something in the thinking process felt foggy, like she could see the destination, but could not get a clear path from where she was to where she needed to be. 8 days after she began using the Genius Switch daily, she said the fog lifted, not metaphorically, literally. She sat down to work on the business plan, and the clarity that had been unavailable to her for years arrived in a session that lasted 3 hours without fatigue. She said it felt like a part of her brain she had not accessed in a long time came back online. Matthew is a man who serves in ministry. He had the gifts, he had the calling, he had years of preparation and a community that believed in him. But when he stood to preach or teach, there was always a gap between the depth of what he understood internally and what came out when he spoke. He could feel the depth, but could not always access it in real time. After 3 weeks with the Genius Switch, he described his next speaking engagement as the first time in years that what came out of him matched what was in him. The access to his own depth, the real-time retrieval of the insight and the wisdom that he had been building for years was suddenly available to him in the moment he needed it. That is what whole brain activation does for a chosen one who has been doing the preparation. It does not create what is not there. It gives you access to what is already there. You can find the link to learn more in the description. Now I want to bring this message to its closing by addressing something that sits underneath everything we have talked about today. Something at the root of the 5 qualities we walked through and at the center of what it means that God went speechless and Michael was stunned. That thing is identity. Not identity as a general spiritual concept. Identity as the specific, particular, unrepeatable reality of who you are, who God made you to be, and what you were placed on this earth to carry and to do. One of the primary tactics used against chosen ones is identity substitution, not the crude tactic of trying to get you to become an evil person. That rarely works with someone who has the kind of orientation toward God that you have. The more effective tactic is subtler. It is getting you to substitute a slightly smaller version of your identity for the real one, to take on a version of yourself that is more palatable to the rooms you are in, more acceptable to the people in your life, more comfortable for the community that has influence over you. A version that is still good, still faithful, still genuinely you, in many respects, but that has agreed to the false flaws. That has quieted the fire to a socially acceptable volume. That has modified the attitude that left God speechless into something that leaves the room more comfortable, but that costs you the full expression of the original. This is the substitution, and it happens gradually, over years, through thousands of small corrections and adjustments and accommodations, until one day you are still yourself, but a reduced version, a version that has been edited by the preferences of people who were never meant to author your identity. And the reason God went speechless about your attitude is precisely because your attitude has resisted this substitution, not perfectly, not without cost, not without seasons where the substitution gained ground and the original went quiet, but the core of who you are, the unrepeatable, specific, particular thing that God made, has not been successfully substituted. You are still carrying the original. The original is what heaven is looking at. The original is what Michael testified about. The original is what God went speechless over. I want to tell you about someone named Ellie. Ellie spent most of her adult life being told that she was too much, too intense in her faith, too specific in her vision, too unwilling to compromise her standards in the relationships she entered, too selective about the rooms she gave her energy to. And she absorbed a version of this correction, not completely, but enough that she had quieted herself in ways that were visible to the people who knew her best. She had learned to perform a version of herself that was smaller than what she actually was, and she had become so practiced at the performance that she had started to mistake the performance for the reality. The smaller version had become the default, and she had almost stopped remembering that there was a larger version underneath it. When Ellie began using the genius switch daily, something happened that she did not anticipate. She told me that in the second week, she started experiencing clarity not just about her work or her strategy or her next practical decisions. She started experiencing clarity about herself, about who she actually was versus who she had learned to perform, about the version of her that was doing the performing and the version of her that was still there underneath the performance, still intact, still burning at the original temperature, waiting to be given permission to function again. She said it was like the activation of the whole brain, the left and right hemispheres working in coordination the way they were designed to, gave her access to parts of herself she had been operating without for years. Parts that carry the knowing, the intuition, the depth, the fire. Parts that she had been told were problematic. Parts that were actually the original. And when she stopped managing those parts and started operating from them, the attitude that people had always called too much started generating a completely different kind of result. Not because the attitude changed, because she stopped trying to fit the original into spaces sized for the reduced version. Within 6 months, Ellie had rebuilt the primary relationship in her professional life on entirely different terms. She had reconnected with the vision she had been carrying for her work and moved on 3 initiatives that had been stalled for 2 years. And the people who had told her she was too much either found a way to honor what she carried, or she found the grace to release them with love, not with bitterness, with clarity. That is what the full activation of a chosen one looks like. Not more aggression, more clarity, more access to the original, more ability to operate from the version of yourself that God went speechless about. The link to the genius switch is in the description below. Try it for yourself and see what clarity becomes available to you when the instrument God designed is running at the capacity God designed it for. Before we close, I want to speak directly to what this message was for. This message was not for you to feel good about yourself for the next few hours. It was for you to shift the story you carry about your attitude. Because the story most chosen ones carry about the qualities that make them who they are is a story written largely by people who could not understand what they were seeing, who looked at the fire and called it dangerous, who looked at the refusal of false floors and called it ingratitude, who looked at the weight-bearing posture and told you to put the weight down and just be normal for once, who heard the sound of your yes and told you that what you were saying yes to was too risky, too ambitious, too far from where you currently are to be a realistic destination. And that story, repeated often enough, absorbed deeply enough, starts to feel like the true story. Starts to feel like an accurate description of who you are and what you are allowed to want and how much of the fire you are permitted to carry without apology. But it is not the true story. The true story is the one that God recorded, the one that Michael testified about, the one written before you were born and confirmed by every quality of your attitude across the full arc of your life. The true story says that the attitude that left God speechless is not a problem to be managed. It is a gift to be deployed. It is the specific signature of the chosen one who is now entering the chapter that all of the preparation was for. And the chapter requires the original, not the edited version. The chapter requires the attitude that God went speechless about, not the version that has been softened to fit into spaces that were never meant to be your final destination. The chapter is open. The decree has been issued in heaven, and Michael has testified to it. The door between the preparation and the manifestation is no longer closed. And the question for you now is not whether you are ready, because Michael already testified that you are. The question is whether you are willing to walk through the door as the version of yourself that God went speechless about, as the chosen one who refuses false flaws, who keeps fire burning without an audience, who bears weight without letting it redirect the direction, whose yes comes even in the dark, who protects what God placed in them. That is, who is being called through. If this message confirmed something in you today, something you already knew but needed to hear in this form, I want to ask you to drop the words "I see it" in the comments below. Not as a ritual, as a declaration. A declaration that you see what God saw, that you accept the testimony that Michael gave, that you are willing to walk through the door as the original rather than the reduced version. The people in those comments are your people. The ones who also refused the false flaws. The ones who also kept the fire burning in the dark. You are going to recognize each other. You were never supposed to do this alone. If someone in your life has been carrying the 5 qualities we talked about today, someone who has been told their whole life that they are too much, share this message with them. You might be the instrument through which God reaches them today. And that is a significant thing to get to participate in. Like this message, if it found you at exactly the right moment. Subscribe so that the next message meant for you reaches you when it arrives. And when it comes to the full activation of what God placed in you, go to the link in the description, the Genius Switch. 8 minutes a day. Walk into this chapter with everything working. Chosen one, God went speechless. Michael was stunned, and the silence that followed was not absence. It was preparation, completing. It was a decree being issued. It was the door opening that has been waiting for the fullness of who you are. The door is open now. Walk through it as who you are, all of it. The fire and the refusal and the weight-bearing posture and the yes that comes in the dark, and the thing God placed in you that survived everything that tried to take it. I will see you in the next message.